Have you ever wondered just how the French speak so goddamn fast and doubted whether you'll ever be able to do the same? Eh bien, in this video, I'm going to reveal the 4 essential French pronunciations that any native English speaker can copy, and I'm going to give you really simple examples that come up every single day in French conversation and in your favorite shows, so that you can recognize and use them tout de suite. Du coup, si vous êtes prêts, allez, c'est parti. Alors, you might think that sounding like a native in French is about getting really good at speaking quickly. Or maybe you think it involves using lots of advanced idiomatic expressions like ça ne casse pas trois pattes à un canard. But actually, neither speed nor expressions about ducks, or even ducks for that matter, will make you sound like a native unless you master these 4 things. Take this sentence here, for example. If we pronounce it how it's written, it'll sound something like Qu'est-ce que tu écoutes? Qu'est-ce que tu écoutes? But it doesn't matter if you simply say it more quickly, you won't sound native. The secret solution lies in the sounds that are produced, not the words. And this can be a tricky concept to understand because so many of us have learned from the written language first. And by doing that, we attach a spelling to the sounds that go into our ears. But what happens in spoken French, as does in English too, I should add, is that sounds change in order for things to flow nicely. It's mastering the ability to repeat what you hear rather than what you see in the spelling that is the key to sounding native. With each sound you conquer, you get a little bit closer. So, I'm going to teach you 4 essential sounds from everyday spoken French that'll give you a lot of bang for your buck because they're so common. Let's start with our demo sentence, Qu'est-ce que tu écoutes? Because I bet you're wondering how it's pronounced. Well, it's Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? Now, don't freak out. Take a breath. It's not as complicated as it seems. Yes, on the one hand, it's absolutely mental that qu'est-ce que tu écoutes becomes qu'est-ce t'écoutes. But on the other, it's really simple as English speakers to make the spoken version. Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? And besides that, it's a really cool feeling to know that we are saying what others are saying around us and in our favorite TV shows. Since I realized this, I have never seen the language in the same way again. Try it now, by yourself, by repeating after me. Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? Qu'est-ce t'écoutes? It's absolutely critical that you can separate in your mind the written form from the spoken form and get used to repeating what you hear, otherwise this won't work. I would classify this first example as a 2-for-1 deal. First of all, get into the habit of saying qu'est-ce que tu as qu'est-ce tu, qu'est-ce tu. Because when what follows doesn't start with a vowel, you need qu'est-ce tu. Qu'est-ce tu fais for qu'est-ce que tu fais. And then, second of all, when tu is followed by a vowel, like in our first example, it contracts to t. Tu écoutes becomes t'écoutes. So qu'est, qu'est, qu'est t'écoutes, qu'est t'écoutes. It's quite easy as English speakers to produce those sounds, right? Allez, on continue. This next change between written and spoken French is so easy, I can already sense you guys speaking better French by the time you've heard it. And it's going to be so impactful because it's absolutely everywhere in everyday life. And it's actually part of a cultural phenomenon in France. You see, in French pop culture, it's very common to see expressions starting with je peux pas, j'ai. There's je peux pas, j'ai foot. Je peux pas, j'ai muscu. Je peux pas, j'ai apéro. And this perfectly illustrates how important this next pronunciation point is to sounding native. Take the simple phrases je peux pas, j'ai apéro. Je trouve ça fou. Je crois pas. Now, there are a few sounds in the English and French languages where, before they come out of our mouths, we trap a little bit of air behind either our lips or our teeth. These are the sounds p, t, d, b, g, and k. See, when I go to make the p, for example, I can pause and feel the air pushing against my lips. P, p. Both languages have this. Alors, en français, when we have the combination of je followed by one of these sounds, je, which if we use my approximate phonetic spelling here could be seen as ZH, the je sound changes. Let's see if you can hear it. Here's what the examples sound like if I say the sounds separately. Je peux, je trouve, je crois. And here's what they sound like if I say them in everyday French. Je peux, je trouve, je crois. Could you hear the difference? So when je combines with one of those sounds, peu, te, que, in those three examples, it becomes more like sh. A French person would write ch because that's their sound system, but for English speakers like you and I, sh with sh makes more sense. Practice with me. Je peux pas faire ça. Je trouve ça fou. Je crois pas. Subtle, but again, super easy for us, right? And if it makes it onto t-shirts, you know this is native level. Je peux pas, j'ai une vidéo à faire. Now, if someone in France asked you, vous parlez français? How would you respond? Well, one really common answer among learners of the language is un petit peu. And the finger gesture is definitely optional, but for me it's almost automatic. It wants to come up when I say those words. The thing is, while this is correct French, and it actually sounds quite cute in my opinion, even this can be hugely improved if your goal is to sound as natural as possible. Don't be surprised if this is news to you either. Most of us don't think of the written language and spoken language being different. We just think spoken French is fast French and that therefore we can't hear all the letters. Well, it is not the case, and un petit peu is a perfect way to demonstrate that. Don't believe me? Think it's just informal? Oh. Don't worry, I won't take it personally. I was prepared for you questioning me. So here's France's President, Emmanuel Macron, saying un petit peu.
Un petit peu, un petit peu.
Un petit peu, un petit peu. So even in a formal setting, un petit peu is extremely modified. Un petit peu. And you simply cannot get that if you just try to speed up un petit peu. If you notice, there's no hint of the p in petit.
Un petit peu.
Un petit peu. Separate the spelling from the sound and you'll nail it.
Un petit peu.
So next time you're in France and someone asks, vous parlez français? Respond, un petit peu. Cute finger gesture optional. One way to hold a French person's attention when you're a learner is to improve your fluidity. It's nicer to listen to, it's more comfortable on the ear, so working on saying things as they're said rather than how they're written is crucial to that. With that in mind, going un petit peu further with this phenomenon of disappearing sounds, we have to talk about those little sounds me, te and se. You know, from sentences like tu me crois, il te passe le ballon, and I don't know, elle se fait des amis. We're never going to say those sentences as they're spelled out. It's too bumpy, it doesn't flow. So these sounds me, te and se, when they come before a consonant, which they do in our examples, the kind of gets swallowed. Tu me crois becomes tu me crois, tu me crois. And you'll often see it in song lyrics or text message language written like this with an apostrophe. But getting this out of my mouth is far easier, at least for me, to connect the sound to the subject that comes before. It's like taking a run up to a jump. This makes the jump easier than just going from a standing start. So instead of trying to say m'crois, add the tu and blend it all. Tu me crois, tu me crois. Il te passe le ballon. Il te passe, il te passe. Il te passe le ballon. Il te passe le ballon. And elle se fait des amis. Elle se fait. Elle se fait. Elle se fait des amis. Focus on the sounds. This is definitely easier said than done, but if you don't, you're in danger of this essential skill being lost. So to make sure you master this skill and permanently achieve native-like speech, you must watch this video next. I'll see you over there. Go on. Click it.